We reported yesterday that one of the most wanted drug lords in Mexico is dead, and now an entire resort city is burning. Over the weekend, Mexican army forces with assistance from United States intelligence took out Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho. He was reportedly the head of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG for short. Now, the 59-year-old Cervantes was wounded in a military operation in Talpalpa, Jalisco, and died while being flown to Mexico City. But it didn't end there. Jalisco Governor Pablo Lemus Navarro confirmed on X that federal forces had carried out an operation in that area, which apparently triggered the retaliation from the cartel. Within hours of El Mencho's death, chaos erupted across Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara, and Veracruz. Buses, churches, and entire city blocks were set on fire. Gunfights broke out in the streets between alleged cartel members and Mexican security forces. Guadalajara International Airport was apparently targeted, and the images coming out of the region look like a war zone. Now, to understand why this is such a massive movement, you need to know who El Mencho was, what CJNG actually is, and how something like this even becomes possible. Now, CJNG started in 2009 as a splinter group from the Milenio Cartel. El Mencho had been involved in drug trafficking since the 1990s, and according to NBC, he migrated to the US, was convicted of heroin distribution in California in 1994, served nearly 3 years in prison, was then deported, and returned to Mexico, where he apparently returned to the drug trade. According to the DEA website, CJNG diversified into gasoline theft, extortion, human smuggling, real estate schemes, and money laundering. The US had a $15 million bounty on El Mencho's head. His own son was sentenced to life in prison just last year, and yet the organization kept growing because the machine was so much bigger than just one person, which is exactly why what happened this weekend is so dangerous and complicated. Yes, El Mencho is dead, and that's big news, but killing a cartel leader doesn't immediately dismantle the cartel. It creates a power vacuum and can lead to outbreaks of violence, especially among the smaller cartels operating under the CJNG umbrella. And right now, thousands of tourists in Puerto Vallarta are stuck in the middle of that chaos. The US State Department issued a shelter-in-place advisory for American citizens in the affected areas, and on social media, terrified tourists started posting from inside their hotels and at the airport. Roll the clips.
Yes. There's another one that went off over there recently, and you can see all the smoke trailing.
Are the fire trucks like?
Puedo meter por ahí, pero me voy a ir por acá porque al final tengo que agarrar para allá.
Okay.
Ajá.
Ay, no, sí está feo.
Sí, pues cómo no.
This is an ongoing situation. The Mexican government and US authorities are monitoring it closely. We'll keep you updated as the story develops. But in other news, the Supreme Court just made a decision that could lower the prices of goods, handing Trump one of his biggest legal defeats of his current administration. And his response? A brand new tariff announced within hours using a law that has never been used before. Let's dive into what happened, what comes next, and what it might mean for you. So on Friday, the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that Trump overstepped his authority when he imposed sweeping tariffs on imports from a huge number of countries. The tariffs were imposed under a 1977 law called IEEPA. Two of Trump's own picks, Justices Amy Coney Barrett and Justice Neil Gorsuch, sided with the majority ruling. Trump called the ruling, quote, deeply disappointing, and called the judges lapdogs and fools. Then he pivoted. Watch this clip.
Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122, over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. In fact, they're just being fools and lapdogs for the rhinos and the radical left Democrats, and that this should have anything at all to do with it. They're very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think. It's a small movement. I won by millions of votes. We won in a landslide. With all the cheating that went on, there was a lot of it, but we still won in a landslide. Too big to rig. I know the people that brought the lawsuit, and, you know, they're sleazebags, major sleazebags. But I destroy the trade. I can destroy the country. I'm even allowed to impose a foreign country-destroying embargo. I can embargo. I can do anything I want, but I can't charge $1. don't think the court meant it because the court doesn't show great spirit toward our country, in my opinion. A lot of bad decisions, but there are usually ways around it.
Now, what is Section 122? It's a provision from the Trade Act of 1974 that lets the president impose tariffs up to 15% to address serious trade imbalances. It's been on the books for over 50 years, but rarely utilized until now. The tariffs expire after 150 days, unless Congress extends them. So that means these tariffs will likely be in effect through July. And here are people's reactions. You have to see this. Roll the clip.
Him now saying fuck you to the Supreme Court, that is just him consolidating power, saying that he's above the other branches of the government. I think this is just the beginning. Like everything, what Trump does is he tests stuff out and then he blows through norms. And Supreme Court rulings used to be fucking the law, okay? But now he's saying, no, I don't agree with it. And so I'm not doing it.
By Trump's own reasoning, he has always said that tariffs are to bring manufacturing and jobs back to the U.S. What fucking manufacturing plant can be built in 150 days? By his own words, it has been proven that this is nothing more than retribution.
So here's something interesting. Since 2021, the cost of living has increased roughly 20% according to CPI data, and according to Census Bureau data from 2021, about 30% of American households earn under $40,000 a year. And although in that time, wages have technically risen, they have not gone up anywhere near enough to keep pacing with the cost of everything around. So for that bottom 30% of the country, the math just doesn't work. They're making more on paper, but affording less in real life, and that's the backdrop for all of this. The Tax Foundation says tariffs cost the average household about $1,000 in 2025, and with companies starting to pass those expenses along instead of absorbing them, economists are projecting inflation to tick up to 2.7% this year. And one person on TikTok, I found this very interesting, went as far as saying this.
Already raised the prices everywhere we go. The things that I would pay $7.99 for at Walmart are now $11 to $14.99. And guess what? Everything's going to go back to normal for them, but the prices are going to stay the same. We paid the prices. They didn't pay the prices. They passed on that shit onto us. I'm sick and effing tired of the government and big businesses working together to steal everything from us before we leave this earth.
But what do you think about the tariffs? Do you believe they are good for the country and economy? Have you been affected by them? Drop a comment down below. As always, I'm Jakson Buhaj, and I will see you in the next one.